Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
When the physicality reached the point of balance of the field of itself, the essence of our creation is released to lead to a bigger creation, not only to our meager existence of our physicality. He wants to know what that means when physicality reach the balance of its own field, and what's the symptom for if the physicality is not in balance. What is the reason to cause the unbalance, and how to reach the balance of the physicality to its own field?
When you reach balance, there is no sickness. And when the balance reach between the soul of the man, the soul of physicality, and the physicality of the man, is more or less, we call it reaching heavens. The ultimate goal, the ultimate position. And in time, this will bring what we call everlasting life in all three dimensions. This is part of the work of understanding, part of the principle of understanding. You have to go a step further in totality of understanding the fields interaction. And we always said the stronger feeds the weaker to become in balance. In the human life, this balance always is blocked by emotion. It's like a short circuit in the work of the creation of physicality. And with a new understanding, with new development, with a new cycle, the systems are just seen, we try to reach a point where the soul of the man and the soul of physicality of the man and the physicality of man, they don't see each other as different, or will not be different, as the emotion is the same between all three dimensions. And this is what is lacking within the magnetic field of the earth. I explained this once before, maybe I explain it in a different way today. A small tilt in the position of the rotation of the Earth creates the seasonal and daily changes. If you understand this, it's the same planet, the same beauty, but it goes through different emotions: winter, summer, wind, and the rest, because it's a slightly out of position. It's the same when one of the three, the soul of physicality, and the physicality of man, one of them is slightly out of position. It creates diversity, which some of this diversity means killing. It's not in harmony with the other two. And the same as the seasons, creating different emotion, carrying the characteristics and seasonal changes. This slight deviation in the emotion of the physicality of the man, which comes from the wrongly field given by the field of the earth, has created that tilt. And now we're trying to correct it. That does not create emotion, which are wrong. And this is the job of the new science and technology. It doesn't take long to create that little tilt to go back and create different emotions. Then all the soul of the physicality and the soul of the man become on one line, and thou shalt not commit a crime. And that's all it is. As the physicality of the man, as the emotion, is gravitational magnetic field plasma based, so we can correct it with the new technology.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 92nd public meeting for testimonials. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the Public Teachings in English. This is for the Monday, July 8th, 2024 session. And we always look forward to people's testimonials in this meeting. And we'll see what we have here. We do have an excerpt from the 545th rather Knowledge Seekers Workshop, and we'll be listening and having a look at that, having to do with Mr. Keshe talking about his experience in reviving a coma patient. And we'll have a few other testimonials as well and see what happens as we go along here. So first, does anybody have anything that they would like to present or speak about, a possible personal testimonial of some sort to begin? Or shall we launch into our other programming? Well, I think other seems to be the option here. So what do you think, Mark? Should we launch into the coma patient information, or is there something else we should bring up first?
No, I was just going to add that, and we've seen this a number of times where a tree has lost its leaves or a small bush and it's been brought back. Even Joseph has moved a bush and he actually asked it not to grow so big. But I had one that I probably used some house cleaner to clean the siding or whatever on the house. That was about a year ago, and it seemed to degrade, or maybe some of the branches. I should have a picture to show you. But anyway, I've just put a ring last year, actually. It stayed over the winter, and I didn't cut the dead branches off, but I noticed a lot of new leaf growth. I think I put the cup one at the base of the tree. I mean, I say a tree, it's really a bush, probably about a 3-inch trunk, if you want to call it that. So I put the cup number 1, and then I just made a small ring of CH3, and I hung it on one of the branches. And I'm noticing it does look like the tree was ready to pass seam. And we've seen this a number of times with the Brazilians and a leafless tree turning back into a fully with full foliage. Mine hasn't gotten to that point, but it's definitely headed in that direction. And I just thought I'd share that. Again, I didn't do anything except make the cup number 1 and make the little tube with the CH3 and put it above and one at the base of the trunk. And it's taking whatever energies I think it needs to help it to continue to thrive, let's say. So I just thought I'd share that. And we know the agricultural aspect has a lot of implications on the planet, reversing genetically modified. And I see these cups, and Gianni does a tremendous amount of work in the agricultural field. And that's one of the areas we'll probably be hearing more and more testimonials. I don't think we'll quit eating, even if we're fed by the fields. But I think we'll hear more and more testimonials in the agricultural area, which is just one of the areas that the technology applies to. We know it's about wellness, we know it's about energy production, and we also know in general of space travel. So I just thought I'd share that. So the bush is delightfully sort of sprouting new leaf growth way along the bottom of the trunk and everything. I hadn't seen that before. And it is a flowering kind of a bush, so every year it gets a few flowers. But if I showed you a picture, you'd see exactly what I'm talking about. But I just thought I'd share that. You'll have to actually visualize it. But
Okay,
we've seen
well,
it so many times before.
I've got a good mental image of it. Perhaps we can see a picture in the next testimonials or the one after and see what kind of progress you've had. I'll show briefly the works of Gianni with the Ganses, which is the cover picture, background picture of our, of our program today. I don't know if there's audio or not, but
Iată și noile reactoare. Acum câteva ore le-am pornit. Astea sunt cele vechi. Urmează să băgăm în fântâni. Pentru că vreau să le curăț. Probabil mâine, nu știu. Și după aia să le reactivăm din nou. Bobinele sunt la nano-acoperirii la Gianni în soluție sodă caustică pentru astea.
I think this is in Romanian, correct, Rick? Is that why you
yeah,
have them down?
I don't, yeah. You can catch an occasional word like Gianni.
Yeah, I heard that.
Nice clean setup, eh? Very sort of neat and tidy. Which is kind of hard to do because the salts are always trying to jump out of the jar and get all over the place.
Are you thinking these are glass or plastic? I'm thinking
I think they're glass.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're glass. All right. Trying to think if we have anything else agricultural related. It would be nice to hear from Gianni and some of his latest agricultural exploits. As a reminder, here's one of his projects. That's a pretty big field.
Yeah, it's amazing. It must have happened by word of mouth, Rick, for a farmer to trust someone to actually take part of their fields and, perhaps
Yeah. Yeah, imagine the repercussions if it didn't work or failed totally or whatever. They all fried in the sun or something. That would be a tremendous loss to the farmer for sure. But none of that seems to get involved with the plasma process. It seems to be all positive, basically. But Gianni, I don't think Gianni overdoes it as well. He provides what the plants need, but he doesn't. I don't know if he actually does. He use the GANS water for the feeding of the plants, or does he? Like for his own plants, he was saying one time at his place that he was not using the GANS water for the feeding of the plants, but he would put the containers in various places in the field to form a network of fields in the field, so to speak, a network of plasma fields in the physicality fields. and he would hang up his sons in his greenhouse, which were nano-coated coils.
Right, and these fields are not small fields. They're in the hundreds of hectares. Of course, he's starting out with very ideal conditions for the most part, I think, in that area around Ukraine. I think this is Moldova, perhaps, or Romania. They have some very good soils, as I understand it, there. But he has a technique, and again, the inputs for the farmer have been greatly reduced. This could have been a major motivator for the farmer, would you think, Rick? When you have to start out with all the herbicides and other pesticides that need to be applied to a plot of this size would be in the tens of thousands of dollars, I would think. So that may have been an original motivator for farmers to be able to save the inputs and actually increase the output simultaneously. And every project, it seems Gianni has taken on, he's had a beautiful success and enlightened the farmers who probably thought they know everything about growing this crop, but never actually applied any of the plasma technology. And of course, as Mr. Keshe said, a lot of this using the Ganses has become obsolete, where you can actually target a field even with separate crops growing from a satellite, as I understand it, positioning, or maybe reactors on the ground as well, and cover them with the fields they need for growth and elevation of the soul, I think, of the plants, and they end up showing their beauty. So we've seen this a number of times demonstrated in that area. I think he's built up quite a resume, let's say, and so any farmers that would like to take advantage of this, I think it's they can trust that it's been well done.
I was wondering what the crop production costs were, and I just popped up this website and just have a brief look at it. This would be in Canadian dollars, which you'd have to. It's approximately close to American, within 30% at least. So we have different kinds of wheat, and for the seed, it costs so much per hectare, or this is per acre, dollars per acre. Fertilizer looks like the greatest expense. Crop protection and fuel, machinery operating, labor, insurance, drying and other costs, taxes and storage and interest. So a lot of those would be the same whatever you're doing, although some things might be different if you're not running your tractor as much, because you don't have to run up and down with pesticides, herbicides, and all the other sides. Your tractor is going to be sitting more, and your fuel costs will be less, for example. Perhaps crop protection, I'm not sure what that is, who they're paying off to protect the crops.
No, he has insurance on it there. I'm thinking that's the herbicides, but maybe the fertilizer is
or
for
pesticides maybe.
Right, or pesticides, right, for bugs and also for weeds.
Yeah, they don't put down pesticide, they say crop protection. That's probably
Right.
the new key word they have to.
Sounds more natural, doesn't it?
Yes, it's so much more natural, so much more nice for the plants.
Wouldn't you like to protect your crop?
Yes, it's nice to know the government's there to protect your crop.
But you can see those two figures added together basically dwarfs the rest of the inputs.
Yes, definitely. And also the seed is prevalent too, and it's the next biggest cost after the fertilizer and crop protection. Well, right up there with fuel, pretty much. Almost the same as the fuel costs. Interesting. You wouldn't think that the seeds would cost as much as the fuel.
And of course, what we see in the large, we see in the smaller domain too. If you try this on your house plants and the rest of it, you'll find out they respond quite well. And again, no miracle grow, just a number of drops or ounces of the plasma water, but mostly city water I've been using in house plants. It seems to, and I've never had a real green thumb for house plants, although I used to tend gardens when I was younger outside, but I've never had the knack for the inside ones, and now they seem to grow on their own pretty much.
So if we look at these first four costs, which is the majority of the costs, the seed, the fertilizer, the pesticides, and the fuel, if they're all reduced significantly from the plasma process, that's, $250 a hectare, should be about maybe roughly 200 US a hectare for those things. If you could cut those costs in half, for example, you would save about $100 a hectare.
Well, don't forget now, this is in acres, and hectares are what?
Oh, sorry, that's right. Yes.
It's 7 acres, Rick, per something like that. 4, 7 per hectare.
How does that
So,
work? Let me see.
yeah, I'm not sure, but I'm sure there was quite a happy farmhouse with these farmers, that they didn't have to borrow or take money out of their accounts to get the season started, so to speak. That
It's,
really,
2.5 acres per
Okay.
hectare. Hectare's 2.5 acres. So an acre's smaller by quite a bit than the hectare. So it'd be even more for per hectare, right?
yes, 2.5.
$100 per acre. I'll say, let's give it a benefit of a doubt and say $200 per hectare that you could save in basically US money, or you say between 100 and 200, depending on if it's 25% or 50% less than what this going rate is here. So
Right,
if you go
and
to
I think
plasma,
one of the fields was 300 acres, another was maybe 700 acres, hectares, excuse me.
hectares, right?
So
yeah, if
300
you have
times 200, got quite a bit there,
600,000, I think, isn't it?
or 60,000 perhaps. But it's a beautiful bonus for the farmer. And of course, the farmers have been feeling much healthier. These were the reports from the farmer and the people that work on the farm. I guess it was quite, when you're spraying or dusting the crops, so to speak, it's quite aggravating to the respiratory system and others. And of course, the runoff is also part of the problem that gets into the, as Gianni likes to say, the fountain, which we would call a well. So that's another benefit that's been reported. So he's done some fantastic work there with the farmers. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. It'd be about 60,000, let's say, on a 300 hectare farm. So, I mean, that would make sense.
It's not small change for sure.
I know that farmers in Canada, they put out a lot of money for the seed and fertilizer and all the costs to invest in their crop. And if it fails, that's where the insurance comes in and all the other things. The government sometimes steps in and whatnot. And so they can pay literally millions of dollars depending on the size of the farm for just the startup cost to see if it's going to work out. It's a lot of pressure. Interesting, yes.
And apparently, a lot of the agriculture seems to be a little more if you have less rain or less moisture, these crops seem to be more tolerant. They have a larger range of flexibility. I know we saw the winter wheat production. We also saw the barley, he said, specifically for beer making. And both of those fields were just gorgeous. I know we saw Jetta in there and Gianni. They were pleased, and you could see the look on the farmer as quite impressed with the work that was done.
Hmm.
And of course, the less you operate the machinery, the less maintenance you probably need on them. Wouldn't that be true as well, Rick?
Well, yes, that's what I was thinking with the both the fuel costs and then the machinery costs would also come down if you maybe have one less tractor because you're not running up and down the field so much. It might be hidden benefits that way. And you run your tractor with the plasma technology, there might be benefits, side benefits to that as well, to reduce costs.
And I'm still there. I think there's a lot of growth and understanding in using this. I know Mr. Keshe in the Sanya conference was saying about not using or plasmatizing the seed or the fields, but just to apply the energies when you see the first flower come up on the plant. It's almost what he said is something about the growth of the child. Most of it happens in the last couple of months before birth. Well, it's the same with the crops, apparently. So he had made a suggestion of applying these a couple times a week, I think, during you see the first flower.
Decembrie. Acum în spică este data de 11 mai.
More fields.
So we have fields interacting with physical fields.
Seems to be, and that lends more credence to the old joke of the farmer being outstanding in his field. There's actually 3 different fields involved. The farmer's outstanding in his field of farming, and he's outstanding in his physical field of wheat or whatever.
We have a message in the chat, Rick, from, is it Roseanne, who says, "Hi, Rick, I'm not sure if I shared my experience with controlling Japanese bottles." I think it's beetles. If not, I could
Beetles,
share
yeah.
that. Yes. Okay.
So you try bottles and bittles, but it's beetles with a B-E.
Yeah.
Okay, sure, that'd be great, Roseanne, if you would like to show something. Let me make you into a panelist here if I can.
No, my microphone is on.
Okay.
Hi, Rick. Hi, Mark.
Hi.
Yeah.
Do you have any pictures or anything? Do you have anything you want to show?
Pictures. I just can share what my experience was. And I had these attacks of Japanese bitter. Sorry, the spelling is B-E-E-T-L-S. And when I write it, it autocorrects it and it becomes wrong. I had these attacks of the Japanese beetles every year. Like they killed 6 of my roses, and I didn't know how to get rid of them. And then I prepared this solution with I put their body in the CO2 water, And then after like a week, I started spraying them, and they attack my also Boston ivy. I had a beautiful Boston ivy around my deck. I don't let them to grow up the wall, just around the deck makes it beautiful. And also I have an apricot tree, which is really nice, and they eat all the leaves up and they don't let them grow well. So I just spray that water when they, especially in sunny and hot days, they start their attacks, and I just spray on them and I spray on the leaves, and I see just they vanish, like just a few maybe be around instead of covering all the plant. And I also learned that we shouldn't like squish them or kill them, that I didn't know, because they have an odor that it's a call for other Japanese beetle come and attack. So like it's like an invitation for them. So I didn't do that. I just put them in a bucket of water or soap water, and I took them and I put in Gans water, and voila, it worked. And every year I have to do that. So just to shoo them away, it doesn't kill them, it shoos them away. Also learned that they lay eggs in the ground, so their larvae is actually drops, which they eat up the lawn roots. So it's actually beneficial for both. So I thought maybe some people, especially with the fruit trees, they may use this one and it can help them. This is a really vicious pest for the garden. That's my experience. They make holes in the leaves, they eat up the leaves, and they kill the plant, kind of, in the long run. That's my experience. Thank you.
So you took a CO2 GANs, which is pure energy, and the bugs that you put in there were alive or they were dead?
When I put in the water, they die.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I remember,
this procedure was like to take the head of the bug and put in the Gans water, CO2 water, and this gas that we make is actually gives headaches to pests. So it's like shooing them away. It's not killing them, but shooing them. Just a few of them is enough, and then I sprayed on the leaves and also on them, so they don't show up. They don't show up. Like maybe a few that they don't get that Gans water, but when I spray that one, they go away too.
Right, and this is what Mr. Keshe has been saying. We don't have to kill them, even though he did give a recipe about taking some bugs and making a Gans with them and using that. But we can, apparently it changes the condition, and that's what you're doing, where somehow I would think the smell of death or something like that would be in those fields, and they'd move on to a different location. They'd say they're not comfortable here, something doesn't feel right. This is my understanding of it.
Right, but I don't know where they go. If they attack another garden, plants, I'm not sure.
How does that happen when, sorry, I get the wrong share in just a second here. I'm wondering how that happens when well,
yeah,
this
is it.
You know, how does that happen with the GANs? You'd think that the bugs would like the GANs water, and some bugs have been known to hang out around the GANs making apparatus and so on. But
yes,
how is it that they would be repelled? Doesn't it give balance when they get fed by the fields and be happy? Or maybe they're happy to be somewhere else, I guess, and they don't need to feed, so they're off doing something else. Maybe they're going on vacation instead.
No, we have to put their body inside the GAN's water. So that's how it works. I really don't know. Maybe it gives into that field or something that they don't like it. Because
like
they have an
some
odor when you squish them. But when I just put the whole body in the water, in GAN's water, I keep it there for like a week, and then I started spraying. And I have even from last year, it's still working.
I see. I guess they would smell the smell of death in that case, or
Yeah.
you know, oh, my loved ones are nearby in another dimension. I guess it's time to leave.
At least they don't call for others to come and eat up the plant.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah,
So it must not include their pheromones or whatever, like you mentioned, that they send out to get the other ones to come near. You know, come on by. The food is good here. It's not sending that signal. So somehow that part gets balanced by the GANs, and the other parts are spread out. And I don't know. It's hard to know the psychology of a bug. But on the other hand, they're like all beings. They move to their best position. And if it's not in the current place, they'll move to somewhere where they'll get what they need.
Yeah, this bug is really a pest for agriculture as well, I believe, because they are big bugs and they can eat. I don't know what they attack, but I know that they attack my Boston ivy and my apricot tree, and it's controlled, which is good. And they already killed 6 of my roses. So at that time I didn't know until I learned from teachings that by putting their head but I put the whole body in the CO2 water and spray them, and this gives them headaches. So it doesn't kill them, but shoos them away. So it helped me.
It's funny, the Japanese beetle is not considered a pest in its native Japan, but it is in North America and some regions of Europe. And it does mention rose bushes as being one of the targets. And it does mention about it getting into the United States through a shipment of iris bulbs prior to 1912. And then it spread through all the United States until it's in most of the states of the US. And then it was brought into Canada from tourists by ferry from Maine that's in the US in 1939. And it's been around since. All right, well.
You see, they make those grubs. Their larva is like grubs for the lawn. They eat up the lawn roots. And I had these robins coming and feasting on my lawn, but I don't see them around anymore. So maybe I don't have grubs in my lawn, so they don't come.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't buy any pesticide, any herbicide, which is good. And last year I just sprayed the CO2 water on my lawn. It was growing so well, so greenish, but this year I don't have much CO2 water, so I didn't do it this year. But I have copper also building in my CO2 water, which I thought maybe it's not good for the plant. That's why I didn't spray anymore.
Yeah, you have to be careful with copper for sure, as Mark has experienced with the bare copper. He had a hanger, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was just trying
Wire.
to extend the hanger to get the plant lower in the window to pick up more light. And I wasn't even thinking at all that copper wire, and the plant seemed to start drooping within a very short time. Took it away and the plant revived. So just the fields of the copper were enough to cause that plant to retract or to not want to show its beauty, let's say. Didn't like that.
Maybe metallic copper is not good. If you put in a metallic copper nail in the tree, it will kill the tree. But I'm not sure about the the plasma of copper. I'm not sure how it works on the plant.
They do use copper mixtures for bugs and for what do you call it, mildew and mold on trees. That's standard procedure. But again, you have to be very careful to use the right amounts, or you can damage the trees. Not all plants will take the copper coating for protection either.
Right. I don't know how much percentage or the ratio of
right. I think we saw that in France with Joel, who did a wine, took a number of wine fields and made some rings out of those. That was another very interesting video with success as well.
Mm-hmm. Good to know. Yeah, I can use it. I don't have my backyard is not that big. I cannot plant many things. I plant some herbs and some tomatoes and pepper, cucumber, and yeah, that's it. I don't have a space to plant more. So bugs, only bugs that I have is just, other than the beneficial ones I had this Japanese beetle, so this spray works for them. So I'm happy with them.
Okay, thanks, Roseanne, for your testimonial. That was a good one.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's move along to the next great thing here. Maybe we should have a listen to the coma patient testimonial of Mr. Keshe. So this is from the 545th Knowledge Seekers Workshop. That's the last one of last Thursday. And we're at just over the 1 hour and 30 minute, hour and a half mark. And this will be about a 20-minute excerpt. We might skip over a couple of parts where it's kind of awkward with Mr. Keshe trying to find his pictures and whatnot. But
and again,
so basically, go ahead, Mark.
No, I was just going to say it was shared with us last Thursday, but the whole scenario was a setting from about, what, 12 or 13 years ago, Rick?
Yeah, might be even more than that now. Thinking maybe 2010, maybe 14 years ago. Yeah. Go ahead, Mark. Continue setting it up, or
to point out, no, just to point out the depth of the knowledge that's within the Keshe Foundation and how the scientists were trying to figure out how this bringing a patient out of coma. He says he was an unknown scientist at the time, more or less, but they were trying to study this and then to apply his work, as he said, to one of the prime ministers from Israel, Ariel Sharon, but apparently they didn't connect all the dots in this process. And as Mr. Keshe said, this is what made it so easy to handle Naomi's case, which was another knowledge seeker who met an untimely demise, let's say. I mean, as far as the accident that she was involved with. And the brain was scrambled and the rest of it, and it was rebuilt. And again, this is another, in a way, hidden in the background in the Keshe Foundation. But I think more and more of these books. But this is a fantastic story of rebuilding the brain with Naomi, and then, of course, bringing patients out of coma. So the scientists from Cambridge, Belgium, Israel were all working together to try to understand how this could possibly take place. And they had all these sensors and monitors and climate controlled blankets and the rest of this. This was quite an interesting scientific study. And Mr. Keshe goes through it in some detail, more detail than I've heard before.
Okay, very good. Let's have a listen. And if you want to say something in between, just let me know. We could stop the tape and have a conversation. Okay, let's begin. Okay, further questions in the Q&A from Andrea of the German community. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Hello, dear Rick. For my understanding, all animals have the same emotions, but why the most species cannot change the color of the skin? For example, an octopus can change the color of the skin, but not a shark, and both have the same environment. The whales and dolphins, also mammals like the man, should have the highest consciousness level of all animals, but can't also change their color. Can you explain more? Thank you.
We become more physical. We can do. Anyone can do. Any creature can do. It's not exclusivity. It's those who are aware of. And those who make different kind of condition for their existence. Years ago, when we did the first coma patient, I left the what do you call it, support because of the mother's misconduct. But the scientific world was still puzzled in how I brought life back to this woman. I wasn't aware of it. For me, the case was closed months ago, and nobody has ever done this. No one has ever brought a brain damage coma to life, to live. But as it was a surprise for the world of science and the scientists in Belgium, the word spread apparently around the world, in the scientific world, that Keshe has achieved to bring a coma back with a brain damage to life. After about a year or so, not knowing what impact this job had, to me was something we tried. We brought the life back, and I gave the body to the family and the hospital, and everybody else did whatever they liked. The scientific world, and those days we were not talking about this, it was something hidden in the structure of the Keshe Foundation, was surprised and intrigued by how this was done. and that you can bring back. Naomi wasn't the first time we did this. I received a call from the doctor who was connected to the trial that they would like me to attend the university hospital in Belgium, where the Cambridge University scientists build a system to check the correctness of my work. They wrote a program, and the scientists in Tel Aviv University built a machine. To me, it was something we did a year ago. It was irrelevant, case closed, but it had such an influence on the scientific world that time that the scientists in 3 nations decided to see how Keshe and how much he has brought everything back. Has he just built the brain, or has he actually brought consciousness? And I was invited to be witness to it because they wanted to see my output into this process. I spent a day in the university hospital with this girl who had saved the life of a year before, with this gadget, which was like a mesh on her head, with the computers run by the Israelis and the Cambridge universities and the Belgium scientists together to see how we recognize, how much we have saved the physical dimension. And the whole reason was I was invited not only to be witness to it, what I've achieved, and now scientists confirm to it, was the girl recognized my voice and responded to my voice. They must have tried this with the voice of the mother. It didn't work. And that was the reason I was called to go to the hospital, to be there. And there were sets of questions set by the Cambridge University, the University of Tel Aviv, and the Belgians, and I found out later on a few other universities were involved in this. This was a great impact in bringing somebody back scientifically from coma, and they wanted to see how much is conscious. And I had to read sentences which was written by the scientist for the girl to respond. And the interesting point was recognition of the truth by the brain and by what we call the soul. And the girl was next to a monitor. She didn't need to talk. I had to read these questions, and the scientists monitored the behavior of the fields of the brain. For example, one of the questions was, my name is Julie, and we watched the brain reacting that this is wrong. And then I said, my name, the correct name of the girl, and we saw the reaction. Recognition of the truth. And then that time, 2010, that time, 14, 15 years ago, it was setting the intention and for her to understand the intention. It brought a lot of knowledge, a lot of what you call understanding this process. And clear to me that the voice has connection to the soul. It does not matter if we get a physical response on that. And this was one of the first things I tried in Naomi, where I was just outside and asked her to move through connection through the soul. The voice was the tool. And this is interesting for knowledge seekers to understand in the future. Give me a second, I'll find a picture, because I took the picture of this when it was happening with leading scientists from the world in Belgium, sitting around trying to get this, confirming that you can bring physical life back. Just 1 second, please. Give me a second, I'll find significant scientific importance in the life of the Keshe Foundation. Then you understand when we teach how it is. And then later on I found out the reason for this not only was to test the correctness of knowledge by scientists around the world. At that time I was an unknown scientist. I only helped just after I came back from Iran with what we call with the space technology. And we electronically monitored the behavior of this girl, how her soul was doing, but they were not monitoring what I was looking at. And I try to show it to you because the face cannot be recognized. And I try to do something with a picture before I show it to you that does not bring any cases against the Keshe Foundation in the future, but those who are mischievous. Let me just correct it in a way, edit it a little bit. That you understand how. Let me see if I can use this pen to do this job. Not good in editing. I need a good person to do this job. Let me see. I don't try to disfigure, but I try to cover. Okay. There's the font. Now I have to go back to the Zoom and I shared it with you, and then I explained to you a lot of scientific, what we call understanding from the test. And then I found out the reason that this was done, confirming the correctness of this technology, was later on for what we offered to the Israeli Prime Minister at that time. You see the face and you see the diagram below. When you open up, you see how many electrodes. All the dots you see, there are 1 electrodes. It's a couple of hundreds of them connected to the, what we call the skull. They picked up every sensation, every motion, everything the brain could do, and there were monitors after monitors like this, analyzing data next to the girl. Her emotion, her feelings, her response, why, how she responded. And this went on for nearly 8-10 hours in the hospital. She was covered that she has no physical connection. All the connections are the same. She couldn't feel cold, she couldn't feel warm. A special blanket was brought in from Israel that everything is constant. Scientists spend hundreds of, most probably millions of dollars to create this condition. With this, it was very clear I was looking for something else because it was the first time I seen the girl after a year. And it was a surprise for me to be invited by the, by the scientists of the university to be present because I did the job. They wanted to know how and whatever. That how we are connected to our emotion and how our emotion connects to our energy within called the soul. Scientific way is a lot of receivers, electrodes on display. There's hundreds of them. And you can imagine every single one of these electrodes was connected by wire to one point of a monitor. You can imagine what was in that room. And the reason the Israelis did this and got the Cambridge University Prize, the software for it, and they got the Belgians to test it in the university hospital, was the correctness of the technology that they could bring Sharon, the Prime Minister of Israel, who was in coma, and we offered to help to bring back. They wanted to see if it can be done. If it's correct here, we do. And after a few weeks after this, Sharon, which was the Prime Minister, had a stroke, was also removed privately to this hospital. You can check it on the news. That they start the process of bringing Sharon out of coma. But they didn't ask me to join, they didn't know how to do it. And he ended up with his death. The science of creation is with every single one of us. It's not exclusivity. How to use that science is the key. How to connect the dots. And connecting the dots of life is very easy. Missing a dot is the hardest part. I'm sure you've never seen so many electrodes on the head of a person. It's everywhere. Even goes down her spine in the back. You can see it around the neck. Everything was covered. I sat there and understood more about my work, what I did, and what needed to be done. And after this incident in 2011-12 is where we start hitting the problem with the Belgian monarchy. They wanted how to give life back to them and they stay ever. They didn't understand the misconduct. They brought themselves to them. Now, you understand, even the world scientists are puzzled. 12, 13 years ago, I gave life back to this girl, which I was called by Belgians. And this is one of the cases. Giving life back to this woman took me to court to give me, giving life in Belgium is criminality. Killing people is the right. This is one of the cases when they brought to court. Why? I gave life to this woman. Their job is just to murder. In the state of Belgium, giving life is a criminality. Unless you're a pedophile violent, or rape young children and you give them life different way. And then you understand why dealing with Naomi was so easy.
I think that's the conclusion, Rick.
Any other question?
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Mark. Was
Yeah,
that a good suggestion?
Sorry.
I was just saying that was a good suggestion of yours to play that clip.
Yeah, obviously, this is like the pinnacle of testimonials, bringing someone back from, in a way, death. So this is a sensational testimonial, and it wasn't the first, and I don't think it was the last one either. We know there's many things going on in the background, but what a beautiful testimonial. And the knowledge and the understanding that's within the Keshe Foundation. Of course, the others were there to try and steal it in a way. And this is where Mr. Keshe wouldn't turn it over. He ran into some issues with certain governments and so on. But a sensational testimonial.
Yeah, it's surprising to see those pictures. I didn't know of the details of that case, and that they had all those electrodes attached and were doing, brain scans of the brainwave activity and so on.
Right, and perhaps the reason we didn't hear more about it at the time is there was a gag order or something like that, where they told Mr. Keshe, you're not allowed to discuss it in the public domain.
Yes, right.
So that's probably why a lot of this, as he says, was hidden within the foundation for so many years. Technology is there to do some unbelievable things, and that's the other issue when he said it was for the Prime Minister of Israel. And one of the things he mentioned in another position was that internationally it would not have been acceptable in a way to certain factions, because you couldn't have a son of Iran, I think he put it that way, bringing out of coma a Prime Minister of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
This would have in a way sparked collaboration and cooperation perhaps, and so they didn't want to let that catch fire, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And so Mr. Keshe wasn't invited. They thought they had it in hand or the understanding of it, and apparently they lost the life of the Prime Minister because they couldn't connect all the dots.
Or maybe they couldn't connect with the soul. It's interesting that they seem to think that they needed Mr. Keshe's voice to do the activation. The scientists were interested in having him, use his voice in the procedure.
Yeah, as he said, he goes right to the general and not dealing with the doorman, which is the physicality or the soul of physicality. He goes right to the general.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow he said we all have this capability to do the same.
He mentioned that with Naomi as well. He had to have a little talk with her first and set things straight.
Yeah, and there was another one I know he had mentioned about somebody was in coma and he was asked to help or something, and apparently the person liked to smoke cigarettes or something. So again, this is found somewhere within the Keshe Foundation, but they touched the cigarette, or unlit, of course, on the body, but nothing happened. And then they put it under the nose, and as if the person could smell it. It wasn't lit, of course. and nothing really happened. And then I think they lit it. And when the person smelled that smoke, something started triggering within them. And that was the story of the cigarette used to bring someone out of coma.
Yeah, well, his basic technique would be to have a food or some substance that reminds the person, has a memory of that. Smell is a very powerful memory tool in a way.
And interesting, what he said was I was looking for something else. The scientists were looking for something else. So as usual, scientists in CERN or other places, they're looking in the wrong, not that they're not doing anything, they are, but they are looking in the wrong way. And the same with the pig trial in China. Mr. Keshe was looking for something else. The farmers were just looking to save the pigs. I think that had to do with the digestion or the reinvigoration of the digestive tract of these pigs, or the swine flu that was dealt with in China.
Mm-hmm.
So there's many, many amazing stories in the background of the foundation that probably these books will get open in years to come with more detail and perhaps even papers written on them. I know the Chinese one where they thought some of the pigs were dead and they put them in the bags apparently to dispose of them, I guess, and somehow the pigs started moving within the bag. And that was reported by Mr. Keshe, yeah. So he's given life back in a number of circumstances, not only with people, but also with the livestock. Again, a smaller scale, but with the livestock, it wasn't in the tens of thousands, but in the hundreds. So that's probably one of the most powerful testimonials, Rick, you'll ever broadcast on this network, but we'll have to see. We will have to see what comes up from some of the wellness centers that are being set up in a way, and some of them are actually actively in use right now.
And of course, the most active thing that's happening is the transmutation sessions, which have been ongoing every month for, well, what, over a year now, I think. And that's where probably there's information that Mr. Keshe is holding back on and waiting until it's fully tested and developed and so on as well. And you might not hear the inner results for years. But we do know there's action happening in the transmutation sessions. And we have a couple of testimonials that I haven't unveiled before, so far as I know, that were from Claudia from Brazil. And these were about these are found in the Keshe Foundation testimonials at testimonials.keshefoundation.org. It's the site. And I'll just read them here. There's the first one was about the transmutation session of the 12th of January in 2024. Second, we need to turn off my apparatus here. Trying to cool off my computer because it's overheated. Okay, that's better. Now, yes, it's about the transmutation session of the 12th of January, 2024, Claudia. So she says, this session was very special and different, as it was the first time I had done it and I was working. At first, it was difficult for me to connect due to the noise and my work, But after a few minutes, I began to notice that people were balancing themselves with a reduction in noise. And there was a moment when I stopped everything, closed my eyes, and concentrated. At that point, there was a pleasant silence where I could really feel the fields. I wanted to connect my soul of man with my soul of physicality. That's when my whole body went numb. I couldn't feel my feet, my arms, my lips, and the pressure in my back and neck increased, and my head and torso started to fall slightly downwards, but I couldn't straighten up. I felt very good, remembering how it felt to be inside the womb with warmth, silence, and peace. At that moment, I heard Azar saying that she couldn't breathe, and when I woke up and opened my eyes again, but it was abrupt. I felt slightly dizzy. I started working again and felt very tired, but this cycle is what I could do at the moment. And when I reconnected, the pressure in the cervical region and posterior thorax came on, and the damping. I felt like my body had already been conditioned to weaken its physicality. It was interesting to realize this, and I can see that when we start transmuting, the process will be much quicker. The second moment I connected was a journey into my body. It didn't take long, but it was beautiful to see how we are a universe and that we have to love everyone in our system called the body in order for there to be balance. I went back into the room twice after the 4-hour session, but I couldn't connect like that again. Another thing I noticed was the extreme tiredness throughout the day. Okay. So next we have, I see, sorry, that was actually the later one. The previous one she had, this was about the transmutation session of the 22nd of December, 2023. And she says, Claudia again, she says, in the first 5 minutes after the start of the session, when he opened the microphones, I felt something very different and strong. My eyes were half open and half closed. I couldn't open my eyes, and I saw my hands as if I were looking through frosted glass. My hand was translucent, and my consciousness just said, wow, wow. I kept thinking and asking myself internal questions like, what is the transmutation process like? I felt my body go weak, and then it was over. I had other sensations, such as seeing lights, and my feet and hands felt numb, but nothing compared to that. So I should have read that one first and then the session of the 12th of January, but you get the gist. So thank you, Claudia, for those testimonials. Okay, what else do we have for testimonials here? Does anyone have something that they would like to share?
They may have started their holiday season early, Rick. we don't seem to have as many as usual. And we know it's a busy time as well, but.
Yes. Well, that's fine. We don't have to have a long testimonial here. And, Let's just see what comes to mind the next moments and see if we have something to go on. If not, then call it a draw for today. Just checking some of my inputs.
Yeah, weren't we just hearing in Lisa's video how when your system is in balance, there's basically no manifestation of disease for the most part? When you're in balance, when you have these energies so far in balance. And that's why I do like the idea of the three wise men, because I think it keeps you in balance. The idea, the gifts to Christ, in other words, presented by the three wise men. So these create quite a balance. Just the idea of thinking good and speaking good and not acting ugly, if I could use that. Maybe that's not appropriate, but acting good. These seem to create quite a balance in your structure. And in that balance may manifest a more healthy condition. Again, it's easier said than done, but to put yourself in a balanced condition, I think this is one of the keys to doing it that we can all apply without any cost, without any meetings or with anything. And only you can apply it to yourself, as I see it. So I think this brings a beautiful balance into many systems or for many people that can actually apply it or wish to apply it.
I'd like to bring to people's attention something I recognized years ago, which you might not know, is the origin of the word good. We use the word good, like to have good thoughts and to, speak good and to act good. What does that mean? Well, as we see here, the origin of the word good, the modern English word good evolved from a combination of Old Germanic, Old English, Dutch, and Scandinavian, originally spelled God. This word meant beneficial or righteous. Also stemmed from the perceived qualities of God as benevolent and merciful in Old English. So good comes from God. So when we speak good and think good and act good, we are speaking from God, acting from God, and talking from God, from that source. And I think that's important to recognize. It doesn't mean just doing good things and kind of a general idea of the word good, because good can mean a lot of things in the English language. It has a pretty wide bandwidth for meanings. But when you get right down to it, it's God. You could substitute God instead of good, because we want to try as much as possible, as you mentioned earlier, to cut out the middleman.
Oh.
And the middleman's everything other than God, basically.
So instead of thinking good, we can say, think God,
Yeah.
speak God, and act God. That's quite an interesting word there.
Yes. I mean, it sounds kind of uppity in a way, but it's actually to do all that with humility, and because ultimately, if you try to do that, you will find you become humble. You can't do that with the physicality getting too much involved. You have to kind of bypass the physicality and go straight to the source, straight to the essence, or to the
Hello. Hi, Rick. Hi, Mark.
Hello, Karsten.
Hi. I want to say something about this topic, because I'm German, and the last years I take a lot of time with some friends about the German language, and it's a really precise language. I don't know if you knew the essays which the students make when they get a doctor. A long time ago, the whole world, this essays or these papers were written in German because it's the most precise language in the world. Unfortunately, our language is cut a lot of words away. But if you make or you watch out for, or you look what the words have the original meaning, it's very, very interesting, and it's I'm very astonished every time I learn a lot about our language, which we use but don't know the real meaning of the single words which they used. And the English is come from the German. It's a little bit, I think, the little sister, but it's very interesting. It's not the topic of today, but everyone who is German and has to take some time and look about the origin of the words. It's very, very interesting, and I've a lot of sensations when I yeah, made my experience with my own language. It's crazy.
Mm. And I know you've ran a test last week, I think it was, and you showed us a little video. I don't know if you're near that or you could access that, Karsten, but it was in a way a very quick way. I mean, within seconds or minutes of making a simple GANs.
Yes.
Would that be something you'd like to share?
I can.
Again,
I'm in. The tests are still running, and I can show it, but I wouldn't have any results. And what I can say as it's not finished. It's still in process, I would say.
I'm talking one with the conical wire.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. I think
Okay.
that would be very nice just to show people the sort of interaction of fields and how it started so quickly. And again, we're using the matter state to reach the level understanding of our actual field generators.
Yes,
I think
searching.
we have a power plant within our head that we haven't been really using.
Okay, I can show it. It's from a from a private meeting we made, and another knowledge seeker told about this kind of making the coil for the guns production of CO2, but it would work with any other.
It's your video. Yes, you created this. Yes.
Yes, but it's not my idea.
Yeah, right. We're just showing something that was past you, and just your amazement. I was amazed that you were amazed how quickly the GANs was actually made. Rick, I think you're going to like this as well.
Yes, this is a glass. This is the coil in a conic shape, which the diameter grows up. This was a nano-coated copper wire I have in stock. So the original is that the diameter grows until a certain diameter, and then it goes smaller again. So it's like an egg shape, like an egg. And in the middle, there's zinc strip, and it's connected, as you can see later, through a turning around the from the wire around the strip of zinc. And he said he takes always, because he lives at the sea, he always takes ocean water. And the ocean water on our planet has between 3 and 4.5% salt content. And normally I take 10%, but I have a bottle of seawater here, and I tried it as original as possible, like he does it. And so we have a glass, seawater in it, a coil of nano-coated copper wire, and a zinc plate, a zinc strip, like a CO2 GANs production. And this video starts 3 seconds after I put the water in. I hang the coil in, it was dry, and then I put the water in. I lay the bottle at the side and put my handy and began. So 3 or 5 seconds later, and look at what's happening.
Thank you, Carsten.
I have some photos a little bit later. I made some photos a little bit later, and I show it also. So I have to stop
I like
it.
the one, Carsten, where you were tapping the jar and you could see it was like raining down GANs.
Yes.
Ariel, that was quite nice. So that was a very quick draw, wouldn't you agree, Rick? Within seconds, you could see the interaction of the fields beginning.
Yeah, it was a good example of that. Excellent.
Here from the top, you can see after seconds there are GANs flakes on the ground. Not much, but it was only seconds of maybe a minute or 2 after I began this process with this little salt content. Do you see the next picture from the side?
Yes.
Okay, and you see the like wool on the wire. It's everything. Every photo is maximum 10 minutes after I began the process. And then it's another video I made, and it's still raining down the GANs flakes. I thought the Cup of Life 1 is the fastest, but this is much faster.
And of course, this is showing a transmutation of gas, which forms into a nano of itself and then appears as a solid in the matter state. I'm hoping I'll be able to transmute just as quickly as you've done a transmutation. Now, here's a question for you, Rick, on these bubbles. Could you explain?
Well, it depends on whether there's already a lot of oxygen or what we call air in the water to start with. But these bubbles form on the nano-coated material quite often. And I think it's oxygen actually that is given off by the CuO coating, the copper oxide coating on the nano coating.
It was a time a few minutes after I begin the process, and it ended with this big bubbles a few hours later. And then today I ended this process. It began Friday, and now there were no further GANs production. It was
I see.
finished.
It stopped its GANs production.
Yes.
That's interesting.
And I'm also in my normal CO2 GANs production. It stops, and I thought it's because the oxygen in the water, which is solved in the water, is away, and so I put out the water from the normal GANs production and put I stirred the water to get air in the water again, or oxygen, and put it back, but it doesn't begin with the GANs production. And then I looked at the plates. I made it with 2 plates, and the zinc plate is totally black, and I think it's nano coating, and the process stops because there's no meta zinc available. And now I will take the same water with the same amount of oxygen in it, and I only will change the zinc plate to the now nano-coated zinc plate due to the process against a meta state zinc plate, a new one, and then I will see if the process restarts. And then I know it has nothing to do with the oxygen or the consumed oxygen. It's a thing that the zinc plate is nano-coated, and the process can't continue. But yeah.
That may be due to the concept that the zinc plate and the copper are joined directly to each other, correct? You don't have LED or any.
I have LED between. It's what I said with the not here in this picture or this video. I spoke about an parallel experiment with a normal setup with a box and 2 plates, and where the GANs production stops also after a while, like here in this picture.
This is connected direct, Rick.
This is connected directly. It's the strip in the middle is, or the wire is twisted around the zinc strip above the water.
Right.
Yeah. And
beautiful detail on the picture. Very nice.
What you can't see here is that very, very small bubbles come along the strip. They go right next to the strip above. They are much, much smaller than the one which are hanging on the wire, and the smaller bubbles are continuously going up.
Yeah.
But for this small wire, or this short wire, I would better say, it's a lot of GANs on the bottom, which with a normal coil at this length, I wouldn't have managed this to get so much amount of GANs. And the second one, which was told, is that you have this gradient between the strip and the wire. You have a lot of field strength, more than with a normal coil. And this was my first experiment, because I had this caustic nano-coated coil ready for my test. And now I made some new one with the gap between the turnings is much smaller, so that I have more turnings, and I make this egg shape, and it fits to my glasses I have. And now they are in the coating, and I leave them in the coating for several weeks. But then I thought with zinc it must be very much quicker. I need only 3 or 4 days for the coating, and yesterday I made some coils with zinc wire, and with zinc with strips of zinc plates. And these strips are 3 millimeters wide, and it's a little tricky to make these coils, but I managed it, and they're in the coating, and when they're ready, perhaps at the weekend, I will make another try inside metastate zinc and outside the nano-coated zinc, and then I will see if the zinc oxide guns produces almost as fast as the CO2. Normally it takes longer time, but perhaps it's with this setup faster. I will report.
I think you've just given an idea to Roseanne about making some CO2 rather quickly here. Do you want to show that little curling device that you said you were using to to make this conical shape? I don't know if you have that picture
yes,
there.
Okay. I know what you
Something
mean.
for the gardening. I forgot what you called it, Karsten.
It's I don't know the word in English, but I Googled it, and it's in English it's electroculture.
Okay.
For the garden, where you put
for coil, they stick it into the ground.
Yes,
like...
with bare copper. And I thought when I make a nano coating on these devices, it must have a bigger effect. But I haven't used them, but I have some made and nano coated, and so I could use it for this experiment.
I would think it'd be a much better effect with the nano coating, because similar to Mark's experiment with the bare copper, the plants don't really like the bare copper very much. It'll keep bugs away, it'll keep mold away and whatnot, but I don't know if the plants will like the electrical change, perhaps due to the copper. But I doubt that the roots would be heading toward that copper. At least not for long.
You see how he's gotten such a beautifully evenly spaced conical shape there. This is what goes with this electroculture, I guess. But he's used it for the nano coating, and very quick process. Beautiful job.
Right. I was wondering about the ratios with the coil, in terms of certain coils will have maybe a phi or phi ratio of some sort.
Yes, this is from Bernoulli. Yeah, Bernoulli, it's an old Italian mathematics genius, and he made the ratio of the gradient. But I think it works with the GANS production works with every gradient. I think we don't have the knowledge to say which gradient is the best for which purpose. But now I make yeah.
Well, you mentioned the egg shape as well, which is like two of these coils put together, basically.
But only with one wire.
Yes, and that was what was called the football coil.
Yes.
That Nikola Tesla actually experimented with in the early days. And he had a I've got an example here actually that I use with my old crystal radio setup that I made. And he said that his football coil had special properties that had to do with gravity. When it was had the right conditions being put into it, the right input to this special football coil had anti-gravity properties. So
a lift capability, perhaps.
yes, it's something to think about. You might want to put a chain on your plants, make sure they don't take off on you. If one's missing one day, you know what happened. It's out in space.
I thought it would be nice if you have such a coil nano-coated and hang it in the trees or in the plants. And but I don't know if it's better to hang it in which way, the smaller side to the bottom or to the top. And I'm thinking about it, and I have arguments for both directions.
I would ask the plants. They
Yes.
know best. Find someone that can communicate with plants well, and they might use a pendulum or something else, and ask the plants, and
good idea.
See which way works.
Yeah.
Gianni uses a double coil arrangement, and he calls it a sun, and hangs them up in his greenhouse. And that helps add to the environment.
I was going to mention that too, as well as the toroidal coils, but didn't we see some of the videos in the greenhouse where the plant was actually, according to Gianni, was trying to get closer to the toroidal coil?
Yes, that's right. Shine that off. I don't know where that picture is offhand. I haven't used it in a while.
Right.
I was amazed that it works that good with the seawater, with only 3 or 4% of salt in it. It's nearer to our physiological salt content. We have the same as or almost the same like the seawater, I think.
Yeah, and you talk about a testimonial. I remember Lisa in Australia. I think one of her neighbors, he would get and fill a swimming pool with the seawater, and then he would get a little outboard motor, like a trolling motor on your small boat, something
electric,
like a boat. Yeah, and he would then add the caustic to the swimming pool and agitate it with the boat motor, and then it would dry out. And apparently, he had all this GANs made from the caustic that I guess, I don't know if they washed it or what they did, but you know how you can use the caustic to quickly create a GANs with the seawater. They call that the seawater GANs. And this fellow was selling it for supplements for the farm, and apparently doing quite well with that process.
Wow, that's a big production.
Lisa knows more about it, but I'm sure it wasn't an Olympic-sized swimming pool, but one of the round pools, maybe with 500 or 800 gallons, who knows? And this process went on, and he was marketing it as a fertilizer, in a way, the GANs of the seawater.
I can imagine GANs farms by the ocean. Instead of having salmon farms, we should have GANs farms. And they have these pooled off, sectioned off areas of the ocean where GANs gets created. Siphon it off and flush out the salt, and bingo, you've got you could have massive production of GANs without requiring massive amounts of salt in the solid form to mix up with your water to make the salt water for the kits. Well, we do have a whole ocean full of salt here.
I think the seawater is a special water with all elements we have on this planet, or almost all elements, and it's very, very important for us humans. And I heard a story about World War I, when the soldiers are wounded, they don't have blood for them, they took seawater, and it works. You can put pure seawater instead of a blood conserve. Yeah, you can put seawater in the human body, and it's not toxic. It works fine, and it's confirmed that it works. And I was very surprised. It is a very, very special water.
I think it has to be diluted, but just going to look that up here.
It was a French doctor who found it out and discovered this.
You're saying, Carsten, that they used it intravenously, or they just drank the water?
No.
Wow.
Wow. I never heard it before, but I searched for it, and you can search also, and it should be true.
Yeah, you might get some of those rare earth materials as well from the universe in your system, which may have the anti-gravity, the levitation process.
I think there's a limit which you can put inside. Not if you have 6 liters, you can't put 5.5 liter inside, but perhaps a half a liter or a liter, it works. But it don't work with fresh water, which is not from the sea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hadn't heard that before. But again, many things can be opened up.
Yeah.
And I think they will be as this technology starts to come more and more into the marketplace. People are going to be playing with it.
There's a lot of things we now in the last few years, it comes up to the public consciousness, which is old knowledge, but they didn't told us.
Yes.
And that's on the one hand, in my opinion, it's fine, it's great. Yeah. On the other hand, you're a little bit angry. Why didn't they tell? I know why they didn't tell us, but I'm a little bit angry, and we are running in circles and don't come. We don't develop, but the knowledge is there, or a lot of knowledge is there.
Yeah, it's to reduce the abuse due to the lack of knowledge is what Mr. Keshe wants to achieve here in so many ways. I was thinking of Rick as a mechanic, and a little hole pops in your radiator hose going from, and steam is coming out, and the woman is driving the car, and all she sees is a pile of steam under the hood, pulls it into the gas station, and if the mechanic is honest, he'll just point out there's just a pinhole in the $30 or $40 hose to the radiator. If he's unethical, or if he's behind on his bills, he may decide to say, listen, lady, and nobody could tell by looking at it, the radiator has blown a hole in it. We need to do the whole radiator plus the hoses, and now you turned a $60 job into a $600 job or something along that line, So this is the idea of getting abused due to the lack of knowledge. And that's just a simple example of an automotive and I'm sure, Rick, you're familiar with this. Women in mechanics, right?
Sure. Yeah. On the topic. Pardon me?
I was saying not all mechanics will take advantage, but many will.
I've heard stories, yeah.
Yes.
Not my technique. On the topic of replacing blood with seawater, I see there's an answer that in 1897, the French biologist René Quinton successfully replaced the whole blood of a dog with seawater and treated humans with seawater infusions, curing patients from many diseases. He proved that there were similarities between the mineral composition of seawater and the interstitial milieu and blood plasma.
Yeah,
Oh, they even understood about the interstitial fluid back then, which has been lost in the meantime. He concluded that the human body must surely react well to treatments and preparations that contain substances from the sea. So, depending on who you talk with, I think that they use, for example, what's called saline solution in hospitals to use as a blood substitute, or what? Let's see, what's percent. It's not like the ocean. I think it's like 10%. Okay, so saline solution is called normal because its salt concentration is similar to tears, blood, and other body fluids, which is 0.9% saline. So about what, a quarter of the salinity of salt water, like seawater.
But as I know, we have different ratios of or content of the salt in our different liquids, in the tears and in the stomach and in the blood and lymph and whatever we have. There are always different salt contents. It's not only always 0.9%, but that's the doctor Quinton, his name is the doctor I meant. Yes.
Oh, okay.
And it has very, very interesting results. I read a lot of from him and his experiments he made, and he has a lot of success with this treatment.
And I could see how the doctors would have gotten off track on all of that, because what they use in modern health in the hospital is this saline solution, as I mentioned. It's a mixture of salt and water, but it's not sea salt. It's just sodium chloride salt. So it's only one salt, whereas the sea salt has other salts besides just the sodium chloride and other minerals and everything else in it, compared to this simple saline solution, which you could see how, if they just increase the saline solution, it may not have the same effect as being injected with seawater, which might have multiple effects in many different ways, not just from the sodium chloride itself.
Yes, of course. You have a lot of elements in the seawater, and every element has a function in our body. And so we or almost in the Western world, everyone has some lacks of some elements, because the food is not that good as 100 years ago, a quality good, not quantity. And so if you take the seawater in your food, where you're cooking with or you're drinking it in a special amount, I think you have not that big lack of elements, and that you can see in some testimonials where people which were sick made this treatment with drinking seawater, and it's getting better. And everyone knows the effect. If you go on holiday on the sea, you feel better because you breathe it. You go into the ocean, or your skin getting better, your mood and everything. And this is relied with this effect of the seawater. Not only that you have off duty.
Yeah, you're probably breathing in some of the mists and things.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Are you trying to ruin the blood plasma business here, Karsten?
No, it's a little bit off topic, but it compares to our knowledge, because we are working with seawater, and I want to know the effect of the seawater, of the guns production with seawater, and there are no as you say, coincidental that I have a friend who told me about the seawater a few months ago, and I don't know why. Now I know, okay, I can combine it with the guns production, and so the things come together. You know.
Right. I think Mr. Keshe warned against using the GANs in the health applications from the seawater, but in the energy or the agricultural area, it was perfectly fine because of the fact that it contains so many things. You're making a GANs of each and every one of those materials within the seawater. I told that story.
Some of those things aren't natural to our body, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand,
yeah, I know.
It's pretty
John
close.
was saying, John knows somebody who goes out and takes samples deep down in the ocean for some sort of tests, and he uses that seawater in his daily life. But
I think that's the important thing, is to have pure seawater, and it might be even a contradiction in terms in a way, because every cubic centimeter of seawater has, I think, 25,000 different types of bacteria and viruses in it. So,
but as I read about the seawater, it don't spoils. If you have a seawater, they have tanks with wooden tanks with seawater which is 100 years old in these tanks, and it's still you can still drink it. It's not it doesn't spoils, they say. That's why I say it's a very, very special water. You can you have to read and read and read, and you always are very astonished what effects it has. And I want to say another thing, but I lost it. Okay, perhaps it comes again.
And the other difference with seawater, it's invigorated with the oxygen from the waves and the actions that are going on in the currents and whatnot. So it can have a pretty high percentage of oxygen in it, which might be useful to make ganses.
Thank you, Karsten, for taking the time and showing those things.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
Okay, what else do we have here? ladies and gentlemen. Or perhaps we should wrap it up for today. We've been at it for almost 2.5 hours here, 2 hours and something. So we could mention the transmutation sessions that are coming up on, was it the 19th of, the 19th is the Friday, yes, July 19th. And these will be group sessions that will be different than before. And Mr. Keshe is recommending that people get together in your geographical area, get together on Zoom, that is. Get
Are
together
you showing the
physically
store?
to.
Excuse me, Rick. Are you showing the store, or are we still
No.
seeing back? You're just explaining it. Great.
Yeah, I could show that though. That's a good idea.
Step right up. Get your transmutation here. It's a
Yes,
process.
indeed. So it mentions 2-hour sessions with small groups organized by geographical positioning of participants. According to the number of participants, it can be done in 1 Friday per month or extended to 2 Fridays per month.
I think that depends on the size of the group. We're still seeing Gianni's cups in the background.
Oh,
I don't know if
sorry,
it
I
was
thought I
your
shared
thought.
that.
Yeah, I don't know if it was
Try
your thought
again.
to share the store. Here we go.
Yeah. So, and this is 600 euros for the group session.
And as Rick said, or if he didn't say, important to indicate your time zone so that they could coordinate people in the same time zone, that he doesn't want too many people sleeping. And sometimes different people from around the world are simultaneously joining these sessions, and it may be 1 a.m. in the morning for some and 10 a.m. in the morning for others. So there is and he wants to coordinate it so that everybody that goes through the next sessions will be in the time zone when they would be awake for that time zone. So it's important when you make your order to indicate your time zone, preferably.
Do you think it's 600 euros per participant, or is it per
No, it's
session?
per participant, yes.
Oh, okay.
It's gone up from the 300.
I see. Okay. I thought it was for the whole group.
Plus the value added tax, although there is a discount offered, Rick. I think if you click on that arrow, yeah, there we go with the 2,000 euro for all 4 sessions.
Right. So you save 400 euros that way.
Yeah, approximately 400 to 500, depending on your exchange rate and the service you use and how you transfer the money and the rest of it.
Okay,
but of course, there's going to be, how's your wrist, Rick? I know there's going to be another session coming up on Thursday, and the last time we had a few hundred people there, and it was quite taxing on you alone trying to bring everyone in to the meeting. So be on the lookout for this session that'll come up on a Thursday. Mr. Keshe said they're going to be elevating some souls in that session, or all the souls in that session. And this will be free. There's no thing to sign up, or you don't have to pay anything, but it'll be part of one of the Thursday workshops. And again, it may go unannounced. So if you're not there live, you may miss it.
Okay, good point. Okay, I can't think of anything else right now to deliver here. So let's wrap it up and get on with our lives. So thanks to everyone for your testimonial and for attending today's public meeting for testimonials, number 92 out of a continuous monthly sessions. And we'll see if we can get together for our next testimonials meeting. And I expect we'll hear from Gianni by then. And that will be interesting, as well as perhaps some other agricultural type projects should be underway by then. And yeah, so thank you everyone for attending today's 92nd public meeting for testimonials. And you see our next public teaching workshop is tomorrow, Tuesday, July 9th, which will be the One Planet, One Nation, One Race for Justice and World Peace, with members of the Universal Council and support members. And that starts at the 4 p.m. Central European summertime slot. So folks are welcome to attend that. It's always interesting to hear from the soul side of the Keshe Foundation's organization in a way. Anything else, Mark?
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you too, Mark, for being co-host once again here. I think you must be the most reliable guy in the universe at this point in time. Thank you for being there.
We're all working well together and getting closer, I think. So it's all working into the plan.
Yep. Work as one. All righty. Okay, we'll go out with our usual flight enhancement spaceship music. And again, thank you everyone for being here, and see you next time around. Bye for now.